And as we start off our lesson, I am going to read the Bible verses that it comes from, and then we are going to do something that's kind of a visual activity so that we can all learn more about it together. But I want to make sure that we hear the words from the Bible first. So I'm going to pull it up here. Now, as we are going along, we are going to read something today that is a parable. Does anybody know what a parable is? Oh, Abby, I saw your hand up. Yeah, a parable is a story that Jesus told. Jesus told lots of parables. And a parable is a story, but it's a very specific kind of story. It's a story that Jesus tells because he wants everybody to learn a very specific point from the story. So he tells stories to teach you a lesson. And this story is teaching us a lesson. Now, the lesson is teaching us what will happen when Jesus comes back. Right now, Jesus is in heaven. He died on the cross, he came back to life, and he went back up to heaven. And that's where he is right now, but the Bible says one day he is going to come back. And when he comes back, he will make the new heavens and the new earth. And everyone who trusts in him will get to live with him forever. And everyone who doesn't trust in him will be separated from him forever. And the point is this, that Jesus is trying to tell us. Jesus is going to come back. So here's the question. Are you and me and all of the people who heard Jesus tell this parable, are we going to be with Jesus when he comes back and live in life with him forever? Or are we going to be apart from him forever? Which one is it going to be? And Jesus is going to tell us how we can make sure that we are with him. So here's what Jesus says. I want everybody to listen because these words aren't just my words. This story is not just my story. These are Jesus' words, and this story is Jesus' story. He says, the kingdom of heaven, so his kingdom, what it's going to be like when he comes back to earth, is like this. Here's how you can understand what it is. He says, it's like if you go fishing. Now, when Jesus went fishing, most of the time, instead of using a fishing pole, he and the disciples would take a really big net, and they would get in their boat, and they would go out on the lake, and instead of casting a fishing pole, they'd throw a net into the water and try to catch as many fish as they possibly could. Because guys like Peter, the Apostle Peter, they were not fishing just for fun. Fishing was their job. They had to get as many fish as possible so they could sell them at the market or the store and have enough money to feed their families. So they had big nets to catch tons of fish. So the kingdom of heaven is like that. It's like when you go fishing and you get out of your boat and you take a big net and you throw it into the sea. You throw it into the water. And it collects every kind of fish. And there's probably some stuff with the fish that it collected that weren't fish. It kind of drags in everything. And when it was full, the fishermen, they drag it to shore. So they get their boat back on the shore, and they get the net on the ground, and before they take the fish to the market to sell for other people to buy and eat, they have to sort them. So they drag the net ashore, they sat down, and they gathered the good fish into one container, but they threw out the worthless fish. So it will be at the end of the age, or when Jesus comes back. The angels will go out, separate the evil people from the righteous people, those who trust in Jesus and those who don't, and throw them into the blazing furnace where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. So here's this parable where Jesus talks to us about what it's like when he's going to return. Now, to help us understand how these fish are teaching us about Jesus' kingdom, we are going to do a little bit of a visual example. So Miss Harriet and Miss Allie, if I could have you help me, if y'all could give the kids, one of you give the kids a big cup, and then Miss Harriet, I'll have you give all the kids a small cup. Now, here's what we're going to do. I have some goldfish here. And up. Now, here's what we're going to do. At the end of this lesson, you can eat your goldfish, all right? But we need to do the visual example first. So, visual example, and then eating. Nod your heads that you get the order. Do we get the order? Okay. You can eat the fish at the end, but you got to wait for a second. Yes, sir. You're very close. You're very close. Here's what we're going to do. We are going to give everybody a bag of goldfish, and I'm going to keep one for myself. And we're going to do Jesus' parable with the goldfish. So what I want you to do is I want you to take the big cup and the small cup and set both of them on the ground in front of your chair, okay? Miss Allie, would you mind to pass out a bag of goldfish to everybody? Thank you. Now I want you to set it on the chair. And Miss Harry, may I have one of those cups as well? Let me show the kids what's up. Thank you. Okay. Now, your big cup, and your little cup are in front of you like this. Oh, yes. Once you have the goldfish, you can go ahead and open them up. Go ahead and open them up. Now remember, at the end you can eat them, but don't eat them right now, okay? Don't eat them right now. That's okay. You can just hold it up like this. Alrighty. So, I need everybody's eyes up here on me. Everybody's eyes up here on me. Now, in the parable, Jesus said that they went out and fished and got a bunch of fish in the net. So we're going to pretend like our bag of goldfish is our net. And when you look in there, there's a bunch of fish, right? And what we're going to do is we're going to sort them the way that Jesus sorted them. So I want you to, one fish at a time, I want you to grab a fish. Now, the big cup is going to be where you put the fish that are good, and you're going to sell at the market. And the small cup is going to be where you put the fish that aren't good. So I want you to look at each cup, each fish. And I want you to think, does this goldfish belong in the good one or the small one? And put it in a container. So, for instance, I'm looking at this fish and I think, you know what? I think that this fish is probably a good fish. Put it in a big container. But look at this next one. It's just a fish tail. It's just a broken little fish tail. I'm going to drop that in the cup that's not going to get sold at the market. And then, look at this one. That one looks like another good fish. I'm going to drop it in the sale one. And this one, look at that. Another broken fish tail. I'm going to drop that in the container that's not so good. If it doesn't have a face, then you got to put it in the one where you can't sell it. Yeah. Yeah, you can eat all of them. That's a lot of fish. So, go through, right? And we want to figure out which fish are the ones that are going to be sold at the market, which fish are the bad ones. Drop a couple fish in there. Drop a couple fish. Yeah, some of them are. Doesn't have a face. It's probably not going to the market, is it? Yeah. Yeah, this one has a face, so I'm going to send this one to the market. It doesn't matter. It's up to you. It's just sorting them. It's just kind of whatever you think is best, you know. That's perfect. Whatever works, man. It doesn't matter. You can sort them however you think they need to be sorted. You just want to have some in each cup. That's up to you, sweetheart. You can put it in whichever container you want it in. You just want a little bit of fish in each container. You want a little bit of fish in each container. Because we got to think about where they go, why they go there. Do they belong? Do they not? All right. I'm just kind of sorting them out. Now, everybody go ahead and sit back up in your seat. Set the bag, even if you haven't sorted all of them, it's okay. Set the bag next to your cups so that they all look like this. All right, if your bag is empty, just set it on the ground. If your bag's empty, just set it on the ground. Now, let's look at our cups. You can leave yours on the ground, but I'm going to hold mine up so that you can see them. Now, when we look in here, there's some fish in each container. And in Jesus' parable, there were some fish in each container. Some fish went to the market, and some fish were not good to sell, and so they didn't go to the market. Now, when we think about fish, everybody scratch your heads with me. Okay, scratch your head, and then look at your hand. Look at your hand. Look at your other hand. Okay? There are no fish scales on your hands. You're not a fish, are you? No, of course you're not. So there might be this question you have. Well, wait a minute. If there are no fish scales on me, and I'm not a goldfish either, then how does this story that Jesus told about a fisherman fishing and sorting his fish, these are going to be sold, these aren't going to be sold, these are going to go to market because they're good fish, these are not good fish for some reason, they're not going to go to the market. How does that help me understand something about Jesus? What does it teach me about what it's going to be like when Jesus comes back? Now, the Bible tells us the answer, and I will share that with you here in a second. But first, I want to see if you guys have any thoughts. Anybody have any ideas on what sorting fish teaches us about what it'll be like when Jesus comes back? Lila, do you have an idea? Wow. Well, there you go. You were listening when we read the parable. I love it. Now, here's Miss Lila's exactly right. When you look at the fish, you and I aren't fish. But what Jesus is doing is he's saying, look, I want you to see there are two groups. Can you guys look at your cups? There are two groups, right? There's one group of fish that's going to go to the market and one group of fish that's not. And what Jesus is trying to help us understand is that when he comes back, there's one of two things that's going to happen. We're either going to live with him forever, or we aren't going to live with him forever. And he's reminding us something that is true and something that we've learned about from the very first page of the Bible. In Genesis, when God created the world, he made all of us. So set the cups down on the ground and then tap your shoulder. Set the cups down on the ground and tap your shoulder. In Genesis, on the very first page of the Bible, God teaches us that he made all of us to be in a good relationship with him. So everybody take your fingers and connect them like this. God made all of us to be in a good relationship with him. He wants us to live with him forever. That's what you're made for. If you've ever wondered, why am I here? What's the purpose of my life? It's to have a good relationship with God and to show the world how awesome he is. You show the world how awesome God is by using the gifts he's given you. If you're good at sports, you play sports and show the world how sporty God is. If you're good at music, you show the world that God's creative. If you are good at math, then you show the world that God has order in everything that he does. Whatever you are good at, God gave you that gift because he wants you to show the world how awesome he is. And you were made to be in a good relationship with him. Now, here's the thing. All of us in our hearts have said, you know what, God? You made me. You get to tell me what to do, but I don't care. I want to do things my way. And because I think I'm a better boss than you, I'm going to do it my way. That attitude in our heart is what the Bible calls sin or disobedience and rebelling against God. And because of that attitude that says, I'm going to do it my way, because of that attitude, we do things like lying, cheating, stealing, being unkind. And all of those are sins. It's disobedience, and it breaks our relationship with God. So take your fingers and break them apart. And to be separate from God is a problem. God has goodness. God is life. He's perfect. To be away from him is to be away from his goodness and his life. And we don't want to be away from him. That's not what we were created for. But we can't be around God when we're disobedient because God's perfect. And if we were around God as sinful, disobedient people when he's perfect, it wouldn't work. It'd kill us. We couldn't be around him. And the Bible says that we're separate from God. So that's not good news. right now we're separate from God, and then forever we'd be separated from God because of our sin. But you know what? Even though that's bad news, there's good news. Jesus came. The first time when he came, he lived perfectly. He never disobeyed God the Father. He died on the cross in our place, and he came back to life 3 days later. And he did all of that so that if you and I trust in him, we can have a chance to be forgiven of our disobedience. Jesus knows that we can't do enough good things to make our relationship with God okay again. We can't be good enough. So he said, I'll be good enough for you. I'll take your punishment and give you my goodness. You don't have to earn it. All you have to do is trust in me. So all we have to do is say, Jesus, I know I've disobeyed. I know I deserve to be separate from you forever. But I know that you died and came back to life to forgive me. I trust that you're good enough to make me forgiven of my sin and okay with you forever. Would you forgive me? And in 1 John 1:9, the Bible says that as soon as we ask Jesus to forgive us of our sin, he does, because he's just that good. And one day, Jesus is going to come back again. After he rose from the dead, he went to heaven. And he's there right now. And one day he's going to come back. And when he does, he's going to take all of the bad things in this world and take them out. No more natural disasters, no more heartache, no more pain, no more sicknesses. He's going to take all the bad stuff out and make new heavens and new earth where we live with him forever if we trust in him. And that's what this parable is all about. Jesus says, look, just like a fisherman separates fish, when I come back, there'll be two options. Everybody take 2 fingers and put them up in the air. You're either going to live with me forever, or you're going to be separate from me forever. But in our parable, the Bible said, hey, if you're not with Jesus, you're going to a place where there's weeping and your teeth grind together. A place called hell, a place where you get punished for disobeying, because that's what we deserve. There's 2 places. Are you going to be with Jesus or apart from him? And you know what the good news is, boys and girls? Even though we all deserve to be apart from God, even though we are all the fish that don't get to go to the market, Jesus says it's possible for you to be forgiven. You know what? You can go from this bucket to this bucket. You can go from being the fish that was going to have to be thrown away to being the fish that goes to the market. You can't do it on your own. You need him. But Jesus says, I lived perfectly, I died on the cross, and I came back to life. And if you trust in me, you can be forgiven of your disobedience and go to the bucket. You can be with me forever. You can be forgiven of your sin and have a good relationship with me that starts now and lasts for forever. So everyone just scratch your head. Jesus' parable makes us all have to ask a really important question. Have we trusted in him? Are we people who are still saying, I want to do it my way. I don't care what you say, God. Because if we are, when Jesus comes back, then we're going to be apart from him forever. Or are you someone who said, Jesus, I know that I don't deserve to be with you, but you died and came back to life so that I could be. Would you please forgive me? Have you trusted in him? Because if you have, then when he comes back, you'll be like one of the fish that goes to the market. You'll get to be with him forever. And if you have questions about, hey, I think I want to trust in Jesus, what does that mean? Then that's why Miss Allie and Miss Harriet and Miss Nicole and I are all here. We want you to understand. Now, when I look out in the room, I know some of you have already trusted in Jesus. And when he comes back, you'll get to live with him forever. Now, there's something really important. If you already trust in Jesus, you know what your job is? Your job is to go and tell everybody else that they can live with Jesus too. You got it just right, man. Here at Hayes Hills, Pastor Aaron wants us to do something. Everybody put up 2 fingers. He wants all of us who trust in Jesus to tell it to 2. The good news of Jesus, the good news that we can be forgiven of our sin. He wants all of us to think, who are 2 people that I can pray for? When I talk to God, who can I say, God, would you please save these 2 people? Would you help them to trust in you? And then, when I'm around them, who are people that I can tell the good news of Jesus to? Who are 2 people? And if you already trust in Jesus, that's a good question for you to ask. Who are 2 people that I can tell about Jesus? Who can I talk to Jesus about? He's so awesome and he will come back. The whole world needs to hear. You and I can't go to the whole world, but we can talk to two people. So those are some really good questions for you to ask. And if you have any questions about what it means to trust in him or anything else, come talk to us. We'd love to help you out.